All right, gents, we are in fact live for the countdown, which means we have our 2-minute trivia here with Ref the District coming up. Stoner, you want to tell people what's in store with this 2-minute trivia?
Yeah, man. 2-minute trivia is in our 2-minute countdown before the show starts. We will have a trivia question coming up at the 1 minute before we go live, Mark. So in 38 seconds, you will see the trivia question, and you need to answer the question in the comments on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, and you will be entered in for a Ref the District swag bag that we will draw very, very soon. I believe Friday we will draw people who
September is the close. So
whoever got answers right last time.
You say swag bag?
Swag. Here comes the question. It's coming. So if you're listening, Trevor,
one of our live listeners here.
In my only Pro Bowl season, I threw for 3,453 yards, completed 54. Okay, I threw for 3,400 yards, completed about 57% of my passes with 12 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Who the heck am I? Again, in my only Pro Bowl season, I threw for 3,453 yards, completed 57.4% of those yards passes with 12 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Who am I?
There you go.
That's a good question. We got EP joining us on the live chat. Good to see you. Jazzy, my lovely wife, my beautiful wife.
We don't need all of that.
Only Pro Bowl season. I threw for 3,400 yards, 57%, and 12 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Who am I? Only Pro Bowl season. Let's get it.
I'm a pretty bad kid.
Yeah, let's talk about the bigger picture. Let's talk about how we be ballin', playing with the Wizards. Let's talk about the Nats and how they always got good pictures. Let's talk about the Cats on rescue, turn them boys to winners. Injuries and updates, oh yeah. To the opponent, we stand toe to toe, yeah. To the top, this podcast gonna go, yeah. I think it's something you should know, yeah.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District, episode 36, Georgia on my mind.
Georgia.
I'm Nathan Perry. The man singing is Trevor Stores.
What's going on, Nathan Stoner? How we doing today? It's Wednesday, hump day.
I love it. It is podcast time, and we got Stoner here as well.
What's up? You see, I'm not going to do my salute, my little 2-finger salute. I'm out. Everybody copied it.
You were mad. You look like you were mad just sitting there.
Why are you mad, bro?
That's what the ref does. He's blowing the whistle, or because of 2/3 of the cast has some military background. People thought it was maybe saluting.
Bro, you should bring a whistle. Yes.
Next time I'm going to blow a whistle.
Okay.
Let's not blow out our listeners' eardrums. Let's not do that. So we do this stream every Wednesday, 7 p.m. on our Facebook, YouTube, and now our Twitch. I'm not sure
what happened to your camera.
Happened here. We're gonna try resetting that.
There you go.
It just means I need a new camera here. So 7 p.m. Facebook, YouTube, and our Twitch channel as well. So you can join us live and interact with us. We mentioned EP is in the chat. And also, if you're watching us live, then you get to participate in our 2-minute trivia that we post as our countdown. Now, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, because we are out there and on your audio version, wherever podcasts are found, you have to tune in to us live to make sure that you're part of those countdowns. And the reason why you want to do that is because at the end of the month, and then we're going to be doing this each month. We're going to be giving out a little swag bag. So some Ref the District gear. So we'll be doing that drawing later this week for September. And then at the end of October, we'll have some more gear because we're going to be designing some hoodies and some pajamas and all sorts of good stuff. You know it. So we're going to have all sorts of that good stuff. And if you want to ever buy anything from our store, just go ahead and check out @RefTheDistrict on Twitter, and you can follow us there. And we hit up our link stream, and you'll see some of the fun stuff that we have. Stoner's rocking the shirt. We got a shirt in the background. We got the big Ref sticker that you can get as well. Plaster that wherever you may want to put that. So, guys, it's been a doozy of a week. Have we finally calmed down from Washington football team's loss against the Buffalo Bills?
I have put the alcohol down and picked up my Fresca again. So we're back. I'm not as mad as I was Monday. I'm kind of more sad and hurt, brokenhearted today than I am enraged with fire and rain. So we got to win Sunday.
I'm pretty much I've moved past it. I'm done thinking about that particular game, and I'm ready to move on to Atlanta. We've got
Bill Belichick here.
Win. We got a must-win game coming up on this weekend. This is a must-win. You lose this game, season over. So yeah, I'm over it. I'm ready to look forward. Yeah, season over.
Maybe not quite that far.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite that far, but they will be in dire straits there. Now, I'm glad that you brought up the game because that is, in fact, what we'll be talking about. We have a guest, that's Michael Rothstein, who's going to be joining us for the game. In the post game, we'll of course bring up Dalla again, but then in the warm up here, we'll be giving our own thoughts on how we think this game against Atlanta is going to go. Maybe not so fun fact for you, gentlemen, but a certain quarterback happens to be 5-0 against the Washington football team.
Means nothing.
Daniel Jones is 5-1 now, so it's not Daniel.
He's 4-1
now.
Okay, yeah, 4-1. Matt Ryan's 5-0 against us.
Matty Ice is 5-0 against the Washington football team.
It literally means absolutely nothing.
Yes,
because the wins that he has are against totally different teams when he was with different teams. I mean, the same organization, obviously, but it's when he had Julio Jones and he had. He just had a totally different team with him when we played him last time. I was at the last time they played at FedEx. That was the last game I went to until the preseason game this year. And by the way, that stadium was packed with Atlanta fans. And that was really, really disappointing. And they came in there and Julio Jones worked us. That's a different team. That's what I'm trying to say. That's a different team. Washington's a different team. It doesn't matter what his history is. That's like when they give those records and they say all time Atlanta leads the series 39-22. That means nothing to this game.
I think it means something.
Well, how does what Sonny Jurgensen did against the Atlanta Miners or whatever they were called at that time, how does that have any effect on what happens this Sunday?
It's because Atlanta's going with the mindset, hey, Matt Ryan, I'm 5-0 against these guys. So just stick with me. I'm 5-0. It gives us motivation. He's beaten us 5 times by himself. So I think it has something to do with the game for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Now, my question now is, Stoner, do you consider Matt Ryan to be a good to great quarterback?
Right now or all time?
Right now.
Right now, I mean, this year he really hasn't shown it.
Well, they said the same thing about Josh Allen.
Well, yeah, of course, exactly. But Josh Allen is 24, whatever he is. Matt Ryan's 35, and his weapons are slowly leaving the Julio Jones. So he's lost those weapons. And so right now, do I think he's a good quarterback? He's okay. But he doesn't put the fear like these other quarterbacks do. But he's gonna do some damage. He's gonna work us. He's gonna work us.
All right, that's what I was getting to because
he's gonna work us.
Had a problem with containing QBs. Now, not that Matt Ryan's a running quarterback,
right?
But he can surely pass the ball. Trevor, what do you think he's going to be able to do? How well do you think he's going to be able to operate from the pocket?
Well, if the pocket is any way it was for him as it was for the past 3 quarterbacks we've played, he's going to have a field day.
Okay,
hands down.
But what about the pocket? What about the pocket it's been for him in the first 3 games, which has not been good?
Bro, everybody we face, their offensive line has not been good, and we can't get to the quarterback. So I'm literally not listening to any of that anymore. I'm just seriously.
It's fair. Now, however, I actually retweeted one of the Bills beat reporters who was watching the 22 and said that their offensive line the Bills' offensive line was actually being torn apart by the Washington defensive line. The reason why it didn't show in the stat book was because it was only one of them at a time. So it was just like they were taking turns being blown up.
No, you go.
And as long as the others were able to hold their own, Josh Allen, being an elite quarterback, or at least having that almost MVP season like he did last year, just moved out of the way. And you saw that lots of times, right? Daron Payne was one of the players where people thought he had a monster game, but when he pushed up the middle, there was nobody else around, so Josh Allen moved out of the side. When Chase Young came around the edge, all Josh Allen had to do was move out of the way or move up into the pocket, and he was able to navigate that way. And so the defensive line for Washington just needs to work in tandem to be able to get pressure against Matt Ryan.
I just said this a few minutes ago in full press. If we can just, like Nathan, just work together as a unit on the defensive line and stop just maybe thinking about personal sack records that you want to break, we might have success. And also, if our linebacking core is not good, they drafted Kyle Pitts at tight end / wide receiver. He hasn't had that. He's had 11 catches in 3 games, which is kind of shocking still, but still okay because he's a rookie. But he didn't get a target till the 4th quarter last game against the Giants. So all I'm saying is if the pocket's clean, they got Kyle Pitts, we're toast.
I'm surprised to hear that you say 11 for tight ends not that great when you guys are championing Logan Thomas and your quest for 85.
Kyle Pitts was the 4th pick in the draft. Logan Thomas was a journeyman. He's a monster. So that's why I'm saying the expectations for Kyle Pitts are kind of lower.
Yeah, and at the same time, his targets were not impactful to the game until, like you said, until the end. He did score a touchdown right at the very end, or not very end, but close to the end. Didn't he score? I feel like he did, or maybe no, he didn't score. He was thrown to in the end zone, but he was interfered with, so they got a 1st and goal. But yeah, he just hasn't had the impact that a 4th overall pick should. Kind of like our 2nd overall pick has not had an impact on any game this season.
It's the 2nd year. It's whatever. But that's what I'm afraid of, man. I'm afraid that this could another team that's in the slumps. Matt Ryan can't get on track. Kyle Pitts can't get involved too much. I feel like this is the chance for them to do it. I hate to say it, but so I don't know if we're going to win or not on Sunday.
It's going to be interesting. I do think that Pitts was one of the ones that scared me. In the draft, I didn't want Pitts to fall down into the NFC East because that's not a player that I wanted to face twice a year. Now that Washington still has to face him his rookie year, and he might not be effective these first 3 games, but Washington has had problems covering the middle of the field.
Big time.
Now, here's the thing: there is tape from Jamin Davis. From his Kentucky days, who was able to actually cover Kyle Pitts in college.
Okay, there was tape of Chase Young rocking Rashawn Slater in college, and what happened to him when they played in the pros.
There was?
Okay. Yeah.
No, it was the reverse. Slater dominated Young.
Yeah, I know.
Slater again dominated Young. So
I was saying what should have happened.
Yeah. What we were hoping was going to happen was Chase Young getting revenge, and it just didn't happen against Slater. But maybe Pitts gets his revenge against Davis. That's if they put Davis out there
in there. Yeah, thank you.
To cover, because he's not been seeing the dominant number of snaps. You still see John Bostic out there,
Cole Holcomb covering, Chase Young dropping back in coverage in the 5-1-5.
Greg Minuski, disguised.
He called him plays from his house. That's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing secretly.
Yeah. Hey, JDR, call this.
Yeah. Oh, let's put Chase Young out there like Kerrigan used
cover
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so here's my question about the last week, a little bit last week again. And did you all hear Chase's comments after the game? Or maybe it was the next day. One of the two.
I did the BSing ones?
No, the one where he was talking about, hey, we got linebackers and defensive backs too. Yeah. He was basically saying it's not just the line. He was kind of throwing his guys under the bus a little bit. It wasn't a full on, hey, they need to do their job kind of deal. But he was kind of hinting that it's not just us. We got other guys too, that play defense and are world-class athletes. Is he starting to take a little bit of a heel turn?
He was on 106 and 7 yesterday with a much somber voice, and he said that it's a collective unit. We all know we all got to be as a unit accountable. It's not just one person or one unit on the defensive side. We're all accountable. So I think he switched up his tune from when he said that, which you brought up, Stoner, about it's not just us, it's them people too. He definitely switched his tune back around yesterday.
Yeah. So maybe he's making up for it. Maybe he
realized,
kind of took a little heat. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, his mama probably did it. You know how his mama is.
You
pulled him by the ear and said, "Listen,
we
Chase."
cool peoples. Yep. And his dad, that gargantuan giant, was probably like, "Shut up," and that's all he had to say.
He said, "Yes, sir."
Play ball.
But so I don't know. It's kind of weird. Chase Young's behavior is kind of different than it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's like last year he was drafted second. He came in. He didn't say anything. We gave him the nickname from college, the Predator, generational talent, dinged a little bit, still accustomed 7.5 sacks and defensive rookie of the year. But now this year is like, I guess he realizes he's the actual face of the franchise. So he's being more vocal and more just, and which is, I think, is the reason why outside of his play, he's getting a lot of ridicule for this because he's the face of the franchise. And I think that goes hand in hand with his performance so far.
I think it's all fair. It's fair up to a point. Now, there was a gentleman who wrote an article, and I'm not going to give his name out because I think it went way too far. But we talked about this months ago on our show, where perception is reality. Is him missing OTAs so that he could do Family Feud and commercials a big deal to his performance on the field? Not at all. But the perception of him doing that, and if he struggles, what are people going to say? They're going to go back to that.
Okay.
They're going to, and somebody went back to that.
See, that makes sense.
Right. And it's perception. That's all it is. There's no chance that him missing OTAs for 1 week is affecting his performance on the field. Right. But all you have to do is see him struggle. And the perception is maybe it did. Maybe he's putting his brand, his personal life, his endorsements ahead of his performance. He's not. But the perception is there. And that's going to hurt you.
How do you think Montez Sweat feels about being included with Chase Young?
Well,
in this sack record thing? Because he's not vocal either. But do you think he's feeling a certain type of way of... I don't know. I might be starting the pot here, but I don't know. Maybe
just a little bit. I know that those two are quite friendly with each other. I think those two are close. I think Montez Sweat really, he just wants to do as well as he can because he wants to get paid.
He wants to get paid. That's right. Yes. He's got to get paid. He's not getting Family Feud. He's not getting Gatorade. He's not getting Under Armour like Chase is getting all that money. So he needs to do whatever it takes to get himself paid on the field. But he's not performing either. I mean, he's not as bad as Chase. But when Chase and Montez both take the same route to the quarterback and they end up in the same spot 6 yards behind
the quarterback.
Yeah.
Not good. And you're gonna run. That's where you're gonna run into all these issues that they've been having. Josh Allen always got to do is step up a little bit. Now, if they do that against Matt Ryan, we'll see. That could be different.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, we are, in fact, going to get the Atlanta side of things here in just a moment. That wraps up our warm-up, and I'd like to give a nice warm welcome to Michael Rothstein from ESPN. He covers the Atlanta Falcons. He's also the host from The Perch and Daily Orange U. Welcome, Michael, to Ref District.
Did we get that wrong?
That was a weird introduction. So,
did we get that wrong? Yeah, you did.
Yeah, sorry. Let me fix this real quick. So, Daily Orange University is actually Syracuse University, but there is a sub.
Looks
Did
like
we lose him? Did we lose
Michael's having some.
Oh, there we go. Am I back now?
There we go.
Sorry.
There we go.
So Daily Orange University is actually Syracuse University, and there's a subsect of us that call it Daily Orange University because that's where we feel like we got a lot of our education, including Sam Fortier from the Washington Post, who covers the football team. He's many years younger than me. The podcast is called From the Perch. It is an Atlanta Falcons podcast. And tomorrow, at least for a few minutes, a Ted Lasso podcast, but mostly an Atlanta Falcons podcast.
Saw that earlier today on your Twitter.
That whole thing was my fault.
Hey, no worries. So before you came to Atlanta, let's talk about before you came to Atlanta, you were in Detroit for a long time.
Yes, I cover great football wherever I go.
Yeah, I was going to say, what happened? Do you consider that a step up, a lateral move, or what happened?
I was in Michigan for 12 years. I covered Michigan for 4 years before I covered the Lions. Just to continue the theme of the football that I covered the last 2 years of Rich Rodriguez and the first 2 years of Brady Hoke, which were not Halcon days at all. So it was time. I had been there for 12 years. I wanted a new challenge. I wanted something new. This job very tragically opened up because of the passing of my colleague Vaughn McClure last October. And it's been about a year now. Actually, there is a fundraiser happening in Chicago in a couple of weeks for the Vaughn McClure Foundation. You can check out their website, the Vaughn McClure Foundation or VaughnMcClureFoundation.org. There's a whole bunch of giveaway silent auction items that are going to be up for grabs. But the job opened, and really after the season, I talked to my bosses about it a little bit. They knew I had been looking for a change, looking for something new and different. And this opportunity just kind of seemed like the one that was right for me. And I moved down here in May, and so far so good. So, I get to write about Ted Lasso today because
that's dope.
but again, like I said, that was my fault because and this will kind of segue into actually talk about the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons really for a lot of the last 3 weeks have always been saying believe, trusting the process that Arthur Smith's putting in because they lost their first 2 games by 20 plus points. And after they beat the Giants, every player and coach and Arthur Smith that popped up to the podium said some version of belief or belief. So I eventually started asking okay, where is this coming from? And I asked Matt Ryan about messaging, and I was like, is this some Ted Lasso thing? Because I'm an avid fan of the show. And I was like, is this Ted Lasso thing? What's going on? And he said, no, Arthur Smith's much different than Ted Lasso. They don't have a believe sign in their locker room. And then we walked into the press room today, or the press conference room today, and there was a believe sign hanging on the side wall. And Arthur Smith was about to open his press conference, and before another reporter could ask a question, I jumped in and interrupted. And I was like, "Is that you? Did you do this?" Because he has a very good sense of humor, and he's like, "No, that wasn't me. That was their director of PR." And then he actually started talking more about it. And BC's been growing and get a wind beard. And then he was like, going to London next week. So maybe turn that into a mustache and maybe get some AFC Richmond gear. So he's like talking all about this. And then when he walked out, he tapped the sign twice, jokingly, because that's his deadpan sense of humor. But that's how that all happened today. But then I wrote about Ted Lasso because, that's kind of, but that has, I had actually mentioned Ted Lasso in my column for Monday, in reference to what I had asked. And if we're really going to dig deep into this, I had mentioned it last year because I had felt that the Lions could have used a coach like that after Matt Patricia. So I've been on this train for a long time, longer than I've even been in Atlanta. So anyway, that's hopefully a transition to talking about the Falcons and actually football. But I can also talk about Ted Lasso for years because and I think Washington probably understands this. But I can't believe we're going this deep. I apologize.
Keep going,
bro. The last episode of the first season of Ted Lasso, the title of it is "The Hope That Kills You," and really that felt so much thematic for the Lions when I covered them. And in many ways it feels thematic for the Falcons because they're similar in that they both have had these insane losses in so many different ways, and their fans continue to believe and continue to hope. So that to me has always been kind of apropos. And listen, we saw it again with with Detroit on Sunday with Justin Tucker making a 66-yard field goal
for sure.
off of the crossbar, like 10 yards high. And
after some ref miscues as well.
Yeah. Yes. So, it just kind of all seems to fit. And listen, I'm a big believer that, this is sports at the end of the day. Sure, it's billion-dollar business, but it's also fun and should be fun. And if they're having a little bit of fun with this, go for it.
Exactly. So, Michael, normally when we have collabs with other teams, I like to ask this question. Who are the Atlanta Falcons? Who are they?
I mean, Ted Lasso.
like this year, outside of Ted Lasso, who are they this year? Is Kyle Pitts the real deal? Is Matt Ryan aging and getting worse? Who are the Falcons?
Well, I mean,
this year,
we're all aging. I just got older during that little segment. But
football aging.
They're a team still figuring themselves out. There's no doubt about that. Calvin Ridley said as much on Monday. He said he feels the offense is really close, but there's still some consistency issues. They have one really good play, one really bad play, on and on, flip-flop, so it goes. Defensively, I still think they're finding themselves. Dean Pease's scheme is very new. It's very pressure-based, but they've grown a lot from week 1 to week 3. They struggled mightily with the zone read in week 1, lost Jalen Hurts many a time. Week 3 against Daniel Jones, similar type of zone read type stuff with Jones and Barkley, and they handled it much better. I think this is a team that is still very much finding themselves and doing it with a lot of new players, obviously almost a completely new coaching staff, and it's going to take time. And that's something that not always everybody understands. And if you look at this roster objectively, you understand this is a roster with a lot of one-year contracts. It's a roster that doesn't have much depth. And this year, to me, is about trying to build a system, a program for the longer haul, and what that means for down the road, who knows? Because I think there's going to be potentially more change because Matt Ryan's 36 years old. Other guys like Jake Matthews, Grady Jarrett are still in their primes for sure, but in certain contract situations. So that's something to watch. And the contract is another question when it comes to the Falcons, because that's part of why Julio Jones got moved, because they needed salary cap. They had none. Literally one team had a worse cap situation than them, and that was New Orleans. So it's a team that's, I think, kind of in this weird middle ground. If we're going to be really blunt about it, that's Trev. They're just in a middle ground, man. And I think that they're trying. It's a bad place to be, but I think they're trying to figure it out as they go.
Yeah, there's no identity with them.
They're trying to get one,
right? Right, you're trying to figure that out.
That's Arthur Smith's whole thing, and that's what he said it, which kind of goes counter to what happened today, but. He said it early on at a press conference during training camp that it's really not about, or it was him or Grady Jarrett. I don't remember which person said this, but it's not about fluff. It's about kind of action. And it's very clear Arthur Smith is trying to show some sort of message, some sort of program that he's trying to install. And he's been very consistent with it. And included in that is second chances, because they've had a guy in week 1, their left guard, Jalen Mayfield, and a guy in week 2, their punter, Cam Nizelak, who had terrible games that if you saw, they're not going to cut Jalen Mayfield. It's their third round pick, but, demote Jalen Mayfield or cut Cam Nizelak, that wouldn't have been a surprise. Instead, Arthur Smith was talking about, hey, listen, going to bring competition in, which they did on the practice squad. Dustin Cole quit last week at punter, a couple offensive linemen in week 2, Brian Witzman and Danny Isadora, and that pushed those guys, but he gave them chances to keep their job, win their job. And guess what? They both won their jobs still during the week and have played well since. Jalen Mayfield's been better in week 2, better in week 3. Cam Nizelak punted well last week. And he's even said, I'm big into second chances when it comes to if guys make mistakes, especially young players, which both of them are. And that's part of what he's trying to build as an identity. But it's hard to build an identity 4 weeks in. And I think y'all saw that last week with Ron Rivera last year, with Ron Rivera.
Yes.
And Ron Rivera is a very experienced coach. I mean, he's gone to a Super Bowl. Arthur Smith's first-time head coach. So I think there's a lot of understanding that, listen, what they're doing now in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, they're hoping is beneficial in week 16, 17, 18, and even more so in 2022, week 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm gonna kick it again to me again, I guess. So we also like to know this too on this podcast. What is the view of our organization on the outside, especially like in a different division and the rest of the league? What are we viewed as? Like, are we dysfunctional? Are we functional? Or like?
Oh man, I don't even know how to answer this question.
I mean, answer it the best way you can, bro.
I have a lot of friends actually that live in DC. Most of them actually aren't fans of the Washington football team because they are like so many people in DC transplants from elsewhere.
Right.
But I lived in Virginia for 2 years. I was in Harrisonburg. Yeah, I was in Harrisonburg.
Harrisonburg?
Yeah.
I'm in Lexington.
Oh, really? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I worked for the Daily News Record for a couple of years at the start of my career. Covered Bridgewater College and whatever.
Yeah.
JMU. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's tough to say. I think that they're a team that has a really good defensive line, a team that has a very established head coach, a team that seems to have a lot of potential and could theoretically win a very odd division. You know, I mean, Dallas probably, if you're looking at it piece to piece, right, has the best overall talent in the division. But listen, Washington won the division last year. They won it at 7-9, but they won the division last year. And I think they're a team that had they were kind of, to me, in quarterback purgatory. And that's not a knock on Taylor Heineke. It's just kind of, I think he's okay. And
you can knock him.
Bro.
And you can get by on okay if their defense were to play up to the standard of some of that talent that they have. And I was on John Kimes, or I will be on John Kimes' podcast later this week, but we recorded it already, and I talked a little bit, about that their defensive line is super impressive. I mean, that Matt Ioannidis is like and I think I pronounced that right, is their fifth guy. Like, that guy would start on almost, more than half of the defensive lines in the league, including the one in Atlanta. Like, there's a lot of talent there. And it's just a matter of, does it all coalesce? And if that happens, then you can get away with sometimes having, not that star quarterback, or you can build your team and then put the quarterback in last, similar to what Indianapolis is trying to do and what Tampa Bay has done. And so I think there are more than one way to build a team. And that's how I look at what Washington's doing. They're investing in certain areas, and, they'll figure out the quarterback thing when they do. They thought they maybe did with Fitz, but Fitz isn't a long-term answer either. Like, at some point they have to go get the long-term answer. So that's a long-winded answer for how I kind of view the Washington football team, at least on the field. I'm not going to get into the off-field stuff.
There you go.
That's a smart move. Smart move on your part. So you were talking about quarterbacks, and we all know this is a quarterback-driven league. I mean, heck, it's a quarterback-driven sport nowadays. And you have one of the finest in the past. He's, like you said, he may be aging a little bit. He's 36 now. What happens if Matt Ryan goes down? Who are the guys? I mean, we know the names of Felipe Franks.
Felipe Franks, dog. I like
Felipe
Felipe
Franks.
Franks.
Josh Rosen.
It would be Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen.
It would be Josh Rosen.
I mean, you're in trouble, right? I mean, like most teams are. You're probably in trouble.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, listen, Matt Ryan gets hurt, and it's, hey, so is Jacksonville going to have the number one pick, or is Atlanta going to have the number one pick? I mean, like, that's really what it is, but that's what it would be for
most
I think
teams,
a lot of teams
that
are in the I would say bottom third of the league. Like, like you're I'm trying to think of, like, okay, let's just, for argument's sake, say Tom Brady got hurt, right? There's enough talent on that roster that you're not going to completely implode. But okay, a good example would be when I covered the Lions. Matthew Stafford misses time for the first time really since his second year in the league. They don't win a game. And
right.
I mean, and they went from being a mediocre team to, what were they picking? Third? They took Jeff Okuda at 3.
5,
so, so that's, I mean, I think that's what you would look at if Matt Ryan were to go down. Now, Josh Rosen is the backup there, and guy has I think he still has a lot of talent. He's just been in really bad situation after bad situation. And Felipe Franks is a guy that they're actually experimenting with at other positions. I mean, it's now finally clear why they are why they kept 3 quarterbacks. And I think at first it was because their original backup, AJ McCarron, got hurt. and out for the season, torn ACL. And they brought Josh Rosen in late. And at first I thought, they're keeping 3, and then they'll try to get Felipe Franks on the practice squad after a week or so. But they've kept him up on the roster, and we'll see if that happens long term. But last week he was up for the first time in a game, and he took a snap at quarterback, and he took a snap kind of as an inline tight end and blocked. And I asked Arthur Smith about this on Monday, and they said, "What are you doing here? Like, are you changing his position? Are you maybe looking at trying to see him as a Taysom Hill in the future, long term?" And he essentially said, "Yeah, like they're trying to see what he can do, because if there's one, like you were going back earlier, Stone, to ask about identity, if there's one kind of early on identity of this offense and what Arthur Smith wants it to be, it's versatility and flexibility. Because if you look at the guys they have on their roster, Kyle Pitts is a guy that can play tight end. He can play really any receiver spot if you really need him to, and they line him up as such. Cordell Patterson's a running back who started as a receiver. And now you got a guy in Felipe Franks who I don't expect him to play much in any game, but at least early on. But all of a sudden, you have a guy who's a tight end who can throw, or a guy who can line up multiple places and be somewhat of a problem to leverage defenses, then that's a guy that's worth exploring. I mean, truthfully, Logan Thomas, who I oddly covered twice in Detroit. So if you remember, he signed for like a day in Detroit. Bob Quinn and they had an entire plan for what they wanted to do to convert him to tight end. They put him on the practice squad, and then Buffalo signed him off the practice squad like 2 days later. And then he developed in Buffalo and actually went back to Detroit. But to me, I look at it and I see, I would be very curious to see a team use Logan Thomas. Now, granted, he's such a good weapon at tight end, but use him in a situation where maybe he's throwing the ball too, because that would you do that once, twice, you leverage a defense anytime he's on the field, because all that needs to happen is you line him up and you there are ways to do that with throwing a tight end screen or something like that, where it's on the line, and then he can throw like that tight end pass. That would be the most devastating. He would be the most devastating like tight end pass guy or wide receiver pass guy that exists in the league. And sure, it's a trick play every once in a while, but that's how you sometimes win games.
Have to respect it at least. So the Atlanta has, Matt Ryan, Kyle Pitts. Those are the big names that Washington fans are going to be very familiar with, and a lot of the talk amongst fans is going with right now. What's a name that they're going to be familiar with come Sunday that they might not know right now?
Well, obviously there's Calvin Ridley. I mean, Ridley's their number one receiver. He's their leading stud. He's their guy. Yeah. And I would say 2 names. On offense, Cordell Patterson, that we talked about before. Sure. He's a guy that is a running back. He hasn't been that great as a runner really the last 2 weeks. He had a really good week 1, and then last 2 weeks has been under 3 yards a carry each week. But he's a guy that they're getting involved in the offense and they're counting on. So he would be one guy. Another guy, if Russell Gage, who's their number 2 receiver, does not play, Olamide Zaccheaus, who some people might be familiar with because he's from Virginia or played at Virginia, is a player that did well last week against the Giants and could get more involved, especially because he's probably, if you're going to single cover a guy on that offense, it's probably going to be him. And then defensively, AJ Tyrell practiced on Wednesday.
Saw that.
Fully coming back from a concussion. And if he plays, he's a guy that I think a lot of people know because he was first round pick out of Clemson, really highly touted corner. But he's a guy that I think is a difference maker. And he's somebody that you're going to maybe really see and really pay attention to, and could be problematic for Terry McLaurin. I'll stick in the secondary with one other guy, Isaiah Oliver, who's their nickel corner. He was an outside corner, didn't really play all that well out there. They moved him inside. The previous regime did midway through or so last season. Took to it. Dean Pease really liked what he saw out of him. They kept him at nickel. He has been very good there. And sure, I wanted to see a full game test for him versus Sterling Shepard, but Sterling Shepard got hurt really early in that game Sunday. But that's a guy that can really cause problems for you because he's averaging 46.2. His completion percentage against is 46.2%, according to Pro Football Reference at the moment. That's pretty darn good for a guy defending in the slot. Now we'll see if Curtis Samuel comes back, right, for Washington, because I think Curtis Samuel will be if healthy and if is good to go, it could be a really good test for Isaiah Oliver. And it's a guy that Isaiah Oliver has seen before because Curtis Samuel's in Carolina. So that would be an interesting matchup and one that I think could potentially alter the game if Curtis Samuel plays.
Okay. Well, Michael, before we let you go, we're not going to ask you specifically a score or anything like that, but who gets right? Does the Washington football team get right this Sunday?
Michael gets right. There you go.
We're all getting right.
I only have one 0 or 1 things of Carvel ice cream in the Mercedes-Benz press box, stadium press box, and so I get right here on Sunday. No,
very nice.
I don't know. It's a toss-up game. It really is.
I believe it with you 100%.
The spread is what 1 point.
Yeah, it's like
one right now, which as most people know, like there's always that really 3-point cushion that people get at home. And so it's a toss-up. It's a 1-possession game. I'm picking Atlanta this week, especially if AJ Tyrell ends up coming back. I'm picking Atlanta, but it's not like I'm picking that with any sort of confidence. I'm kind of just rolling with the home situation and the fact that I think that Washington is really susceptible to play action at the moment, and Arthur Smith's smart enough to potentially use that. And if that happens, I think they could finally get their intermediate and deep passes going, which has not happened in any game so far this year, to where we don't know if that's just something. So far, they've said it's just not been available, that teams have been really covering it well, or if it's just not a feature in this offense. And we'll see kind of what this looks like around by 7 o'clock Sunday. I think we'll have an answer one way or the other. But it would not shock me if Washington figures out some of its defensive line pressure problems, particularly Chase Young. He's probably going up against Caleb McGarry. That should be a matchup that's advantageous for Chase Young. So we'll see if they keep maybe Lee Smith, who's a tight end, but really just
we heard that all year long. And
it's not happening in a tight end body. It would not shock me if they kind of if they could tie them together, like, and have them as like one of those three-legged race things, like they might try. But that would not surprise me if Chase Young really got himself going. I know you guys were talking about him right before I came on, so that's a place that I would maybe look at. And I think it's entirely possible that Washington wins this game without question. But I'm going with Atlanta mostly because I think that in these types of matchups, the home team often finds a way. But I thought that last week too, and I took the Giants, so it shows what I know.
I got Koo on one of my fantasy teams, so shout out to Koo.
Youngway is a fantastic kicker. He's a great story.
Yeah, somebody stole his car too in the offseason, right? Didn't somebody steal his car too?
Someone stole his car, his Jeep, and his cleats, and he never got it back. And I actually we asked him about that the one time he's talked so far this year, and he said, listen, like, it happens, and moved on from it. But he was upset. I mean, he obviously posted about it.
Yeah, he did.
For him. Like, listen, if I were a kicker, I'm not a kicker. I cannot kick. I'm in a kickball league, and I have bruises on my legs right now. Like, that's how bad it's going. And I mean, it's just true. But
so you're not going to take D-Hop's job anytime.
I'm not taking anyone's job. No, the Lions used to have a media punting competition at the end of training camp, and
that's dope.
Yeah, I did not do well there. Let's just say that. Kicking has never been my forte. But Youngway Koo is one of the most consistent kickers in the league. But if I'm a kicker, I would be very upset, like, if someone took my cleats. That's like taking a receiver's gloves or like a baseball player's bat, that's, or a basketball player's shoes. Like, that's something that's really, or runner's shoes. That's something that's really sacred. So I totally understand why that's kind of where things are with him. But he's kicked well. No reason to be any sort of concern with Youngway Koo. He's been their most consistent offensive option so far, which is not great considering.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
We'll see. All right, Michael, we want to thank you for joining us. Where can our fans watch you next? You mentioned a couple times you're going to be on John Keim's podcast, and then of course you have your own. When will those be?
Yeah, so I have my next podcast episode dropping tomorrow. John Keim is actually on my show tomorrow.
Nice.
We're breaking down the Washington-Atlanta game, and I talk a little bit about the whole Ted Lasso thing that we discussed kind of at the top here, and a few other things. And then I'm going to be on John Keim's show on Friday. His is the John Keim Report. My show is called From the Perch. We drop episodes every Monday and Thursday, and it's a very new podcast. We're 7 episodes in. I had a podcast when I covered the Lions, but this is a new podcast, new team, new podcast. So the hope is, that people will find it and listen. And the plan down the road, hopefully as soon as a week or two from now, is to have some player guests, have some former player guests, because that was very heavily what I did on my last show. And that's kind of where it is as far as that. As far as where else you can find me and interact with me, Twitter, Instagram, I'm at Mike Rothstein. Facebook, I'm at Michael Rothstein Journalist. Obviously, read all my stuff at ESPN.com. And that is, I've gotten very good at that little part of my spiel whenever I do.
That's right.
It sounded perfect, bro.
You got to promote yourself.
That's maybe the most polished thing I'm good at. Everything else is kind of a mess, but that's perfect.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate you coming on the show, Michael. This is Michael Rothstein, ESPN's Michael Rothstein from the Atlanta Falcons. Again, you can catch him on From the Perch, his Atlanta Falcons-based podcast, and he'll be on John Keim's podcast later this week as well. Thank you, Michael, for joining Ref the District.
Thank you all so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. Shout out John Keim one time. I love me some
John Keim. Yo, me and Michael V, we're Virginia boys, baby.
That's right. That's right.
2 up, 2 down. Let's go.
A little bit of a transplant there.
Michael was awesome. Man, I loved having him on.
I like
it. It was pretty cool he came on.
So we're going to win Sunday is what he's saying.
He said there's a chance. He said there's a chance.
He both ways.
He didn't sound too convinced that Atlanta was going to win.
No,
he also didn't convince us that, unlike our guest last week, that our Bills friend Ryan, who convinced us that Washington's going to win, they're going to dominate the line.
I think he did that on purpose. I think he knew exactly what he was doing.
He's doing the old Lou Holtz deal, right? Lou Holtz was playing like the Sister Marys of the Poor or whatever, and he's like, "Man, their quarterback is amazing.
Gotta talk him up.
And then they beat him 72-3.
Yep.
It's going to be a very, very interesting game.
It really is.
I do think that it's going to be a lot closer than Washington fans want. And anybody going into this game thinking Washington's going to run away with it is still dreaming.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be nip and tuck the whole game. Nobody's running away.
What if it's a shootout, you guys? What if it's a shootout, like 45-42?
I don't know.
It comes down to D-Hop to lose it for us. Yeah, I said it.
It's in the dome.
What, you just gotta win.
It's a dome.
Yeah, it's in the dome. It's on turf again. We played on turf last week. I heard on the broadcast that was kind of a minor factor or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. We've talked all about the Atlanta weapons. We've talked about the defensive problems on our side, vice versa. We don't know what team's going to show up. Which Taylor Heineke's going to show up.
That's the part we haven't talked about, right? We talked about the
Taylor
defense
Heineke?
in the warm up. We talked about on the Atlanta side with Michael. What's the offense going to look like? Is Curtis Samuel going to come back?
Yes.
You think he's coming back this week?
Yep.
I don't know. But I will. I'll be honest. When I watch some of the clips,
he looks a lot better.
He looks totally different than he did.
He
looks totally different.
Totally different.
Very smooth.
Even before he got hurt, he looks better.
You know me. I've been talking about it since he got hurt way back in OTA.
That's your middle name.
And every time I see him, I'm like, he doesn't look right. There's just something's going on there. He looked good today. I don't know if he's coming off the list yet. We're gonna see how he responds. Right? How he's going to respond.
You think maybe he doesn't come back this game, but they bring him back for his
New Orleans
for the home game?
Yeah, that could be the case.
Save his debut for a home game.
Before we jump into Taylor Heineke, I want to mention we also signed Kelvin Harmon back to the practice squad today, which is random and I like
weird.
it, but it's just kind of random. It is.
They had a spot. It is. I don't know what it means because
me neither.
they're stacked at wide receiver right now.
Thank you.
And Curtis Samuel may or may not come back.
And they took Wes Martin from us on practice squad, so maybe he's just filling that spot on the practice squad. I don't know.
It's guys
weird.
like that, they mean nothing.
They're going to come on and off the practice squad.
Kelvin Harmon means something.
I mean, as much as we appreciate him, we don't want to see him on the field.
Not yet.
Not yet. You never want to see him on the field.
I never know. So anyway, he's only on the practice squad this year because of ACL. Like before that, he was. Anyway, Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, Taylor Heineke.
Which Taylor Heineke are we going to get? Are we going to get
the
one
same
that the Hive fell in love with? And they so much that they were cheering his name as Ryan Fitzpatrick was sitting on the field. Broken.
We're going to get the same Taylor Heineke that we've had since the XFL.
You've had two different ones. When you compare him to last week and the week before.
He's the same one, bro. He threw picks last week. He threw picks this week. He didn't run when he's supposed to this week. He didn't do that last week. He hasn't shown any improvement since we've had him on since the Tampa Bay game. I'm sorry.
If anything, I would say there's some regression to his game.
Thank you. I
think he's starting to overthink things.
Yep.
And that's where we're seeing this. I don't think it's as much as defenses are figuring out Taylor Heineke as much as it's Taylor Heineke is trying to do too much. Not in the sense that where he was playing before, where he was running at the first sign of trouble, and he was just trying to get as many yards. I think now he is deliberately thinking so much of, okay, I got to let this develop. I got to wait for this. And that's what's getting him in trouble. Now, I do have to say, we definitely got a couple different Taylor Heinekes because this was the first time we've really seen him struggle as much as he did.
Yeah.
Now he's only won one game with the team. So I want to clarify this.
What game was that?
That was against the Giants, barely in a shootout. Which only one of us attended in person. Just gonna push that out there. But the thing is, Taylor needs to just come back, let things happen, and if he does that, I think Washington can win this game. But if he tries to push it, or if the defense, I don't want to be a game manager. He's not. I don't know what Ron is thinking. What of Taylor Heineke is a game manager?
Like come out like you've got control over the offense and you know what the hell you're doing. Like he does not show me that at all. He does not show me that.
I agree.
He does not when things go awry, he freaks out, throws horrible picks and thinks too much. He came back against the Giants and rebound after that pick, but he doesn't show me as in like, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do. You need to be in this spot. I don't see that from him. I've never seen that from him. Well, I don't see it.
Well, look, I'm not in the defend Taylor Heineke camp. I'm not a big believer in him either. But I think if he just does the job of get the ball to the playmakers in a position to do things. When he targeted McLaurin 14 times,
right?
You had great results from that, right?
Yep.
And then when you target him this past week, 4 times, you don't have great results. So get it to your playmakers, get it to the Gibsons and the McLaurins and the Logans, as much as you want to say if he's a playmaker or not. Maybe if Curtis Samuel's in there, get it to those guys who can make plays. J.D. McKissick, and he's just not doing that. You remember? Have you guys seen that one? We talk about this guy's podcast a lot, the Tay and Todd podcast. Yes. And they
shout out Tay and Todd.
Yeah, they do. They break down film quite a bit. They do a great job of it. And they just put one out just today, and it was the play. Do you remember the play where Taylor Heineke went back and just threw a long pass to De'Ami Brown down the left side that wasn't even close?
He dropped it. Oh.
No, De'Ami Brown didn't. It was the long pass.
It was
early in the game.
Second
play. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever it was. He just threw it down the left sideline. De'Ami Brown didn't beat his man, right? And it was way overthrown. And they showed the wide shot of it. And Terry McLaurin was on Tre'Davious White. I believe that's his name. Sorry.
Tre'Davious. We always
Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And so it was his job. Both were doing the same thing. McLaurin was doing just a fly straight down on one side and Brown on the other side. And McLaurin easily beat his man and was wide open.
But
and
what
happened on the other side is just before the snap, the cornerback dropped off. And so De'Ami Brown obviously is not going to beat that, right? When a guy gets a 7-yard head start on him. Why did he throw to that side? Why did Taylor Heineke not read that guy dropped off? And hello, McLaurin.
That's my whole point. He's been in so many offenses and leagues, XFL, whatever. You would think he would know that by now.
Yeah.
Even back in ODU, when his coach said he's the smartest player quarterback he's ever encountered.
Gets through five reads.
I'm sorry, unless we're giving out math tests during the game, he ain't that smart right now.
Well, this is a huge game for him. It's a huge game for him.
It is. A little nugget from Ron Rivera today, too. He mentioned Kyle Allen. He said, I'm not scared.
He was asked.
He was asked. He wasn't out of the blue.
What is he supposed to do?
He doesn't have to say. He can say Taylor Heineke's our guy. That's all.
That's what he did.
No, he said, I'm not scared.
He actually did say that. He actually said,
I'm not. I know, but he said, I'm not scared to play Kyle Allen. I'm not scared to play, but Taylor Heineke is the guy right, now. So clearly,
you're putting in the
no. I'm telling you, Ron Rivera has already. He didn't have to mention Kyle Allen. He didn't have to mention it.
You need to stop loving Kyle Allen.
Wait,
I'm just telling you, bro.
Let's ask Trev.
Yes.
He's asked. How would you answer this question then?
Okay,
Coach, are you thinking about putting Kyle Allen in?
Taylor Heineke is our starting. Taylor Heineke is our starting quarterback.
Well, that's not how coaches speak unless your name.
Well, maybe you should say it.
Stoner thought that was going to go.
Maybe try it that way so you will prevent this from happening. Because if you I'm saying Ron Rivera did it last week. It's a measuring stick game. Blown out today. I'm not scared to play
that measuring stick.
I'm not scared to play Kyle Allen. Now look what that's caused. You just said all he had to do is say the name at the press conference.
Tony brings up a good point. Thank you, Tony, for watching our show. He agrees, right? Don't overthink it. And he actually puts this on Turner as well. Ooh. Scott Turner does a lot of kind of. You see this a lot with offenses these times where there's a lot of motion. There's a lot of these things to try to throw the defense off. Do you think Scott Turner may need to simplify things right now for Taylor Heineke?
Yes and no. Know when to call the exotics and not to call them. There's no reason why we should be doing a reverse to De'Ami Brown on second down when in the Bills. There was no reason for that. Just run it straight ahead. There's no reason for trickery at that point because they're not getting fooled. We're down 21-0. How are you going to fool them now?
Yeah.
I feel like his playbook is exotic enough, but also we got to think about this. He's had to install this game plan on how many quarterbacks in 2 years?
Sure.
So it's and none of them seem to understand it that well, except for maybe Alex Smith, but not really because he was dinged up the whole year. So half of it is Scott Turner and then half of it is the players. The players play. And if you're so smart, you can't understand Scott Turner's offense, go to somebody who knows the offense, a.k.a. Kyle Allen.
Oh, you got to stop with the Kyle Allen thing.
He's not the only one here.
I'm just saying that we don't have anybody else. That's what I'm saying.
Defense.
Authentic in the beard. Authentic in the beard. What up?
Yeah, I've seen their show. I like that.
Good. What happens if the defense comes to life and Heineke continues to play poorly? You might have to go to Kyle.
Yeah, but not after one game. You line up 2, 3, 4 in a row, then you might have
Stoner. It's not after one game. It's not one game.
He was fine the other 3.
It's dating back to last season. We've had him before. How many chances are we going to give this kid?
Well, in a game, you've only given him 3.5.
And again, I want to remind Trevor, Kyle Allen's had plenty of chances. In the NFL.
He's had more.
I know, but at least he looks left. At least he knows how to read a defense. He knows when to throw the ball away.
Debatable.
He knows when to check down when he knows what to do.
But you know what? I feel like we're in Groundhog Day. We're gonna have this same freaking debate day after day, week after week,
Kyle Allen comes in and throws for 4 touchdowns.
No, because then you'll be clamoring for Shermer or
I just want better quarterback play this season. That's all, man.
Well,
We
done,
need
y'all.
Fitz to get healthy, and then we can
Yeah,
clamor
come on
for
back.
Fitzpatrick to come back.
Seriously.
yeah.
I tell you what, we're going to wrap it up for this show. We'll do $dollar on our Twitter account, so you'll find that at Ref the District on Twitter. If you'd like to throw out your $dollar bets, make sure you hit us up either there, or you can do that here on any one of the platforms that we're streaming live. We stream live every Wednesday on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, 7 p.m. And yes, Trevor's raising his hand, so we're going to go to Trevor.
Are we still going to do game predictions on the show right now?
Yeah,
or
we should do game prediction, actually.
Like
Let's
score
go ahead and have a
stuff?
game prediction.
Okay.
All right, Stoney, you go first.
Well, I'm going for you. You're setting me up. You're setting me up because you don't want me to take your score and reverse it or whatever. No, I think. All right. Here's what I think.
Right, which is
I'm not
legit
doing
for
that.
this game.
No, I'm not doing that this game. Actually,
Okay.
I think this is a get right game for both sides of the ball. I think it's a get right game for the Washington football team. I think they've been embarrassed about their play, and they're going to respond accordingly. I think Taylor Heineke is going to play well enough, and this defense is going to ball out. Still going to be a close game because I don't know when the last time Washington blew anybody out not named Dallas last year. They usually don't do that. They're usually in the game. So I'm going to go Washington football team, 28.
Okay.
Atlanta,
Oh, no.
22.
Don't do it. There you go. Is this the first time you pick Washington this year?
I picked him against the Chargers.
Picked him against the Chargers. We'll see
think.
how this one goes.
Can't remember.
Go back to the tape. All right, Trevor, what you got?
It's going to be a toss-up, like my man Michael Rothstein said. I think we have a little more firepower on offense, weapon-wise, than the Falcons do. So I do believe, and their defense is suspect like ours. We have
Their defense is terrible.
Yeah, we have some sort of identity with our defensive line. Like, people know who they are.
Yeah.
But I don't know anybody on their defensive side outside of Grady Jarrett and AJ Tyrell. So I'm going to go Washington 26, Atlanta 13.
Ooh, that's a
I think Atlanta comes out and drives down on us, and then we have a wake-up call, and then that's it.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to pick the closest of them. I'm going to go 24-20, and I'm going to take.
Don't you do it.
The Washington football.
Yeah!
I do think this is a get right team. This is a get right game for Washington. I think they head down to Atlanta, but they do not run away with this one. They just kind of put together enough. Coming back home against the States. That's where we'll see whether or not they're a real team. But against the Falcons, I think they at least do some things right. So, all right, I've already pitched where we stream this. You can catch the audio version wherever your podcasts are. So please listen. Another hand
every time you try to close the show,
you guys
won't allow it.
We always have something. Because we got some new people in our watching here. We've got Authentic and the Beard. I don't know if Authentic's on or the Beard. Which one of them is actually on? They're both in. Okay.
Yeah.
And also we had a new listener, Katie. Right, Katie. I think this is the first time she's been on live, or at least she's interacted with us. But we have some really cool shows coming up. Not just our Monday Day After Reckoning and our Wednesday regular show. We've got a Wizards preview show and a Caps preview show. Both are going to be the Tuesday prior to the season start dates. So that's going to be October 12th and October 19th. Special shows where we're going to have some special guests, big time guests. Let me tell you right now, big time guests. So you're going to have to stay tuned for that. So I just want to throw those out there too. And of course, we've got some After the Whistle shows that we got all
big
kinds
guests.
of stuff going on.
Yeah, we grinding, baby. We out here.
We grinding. I just want to make sure we got those in too.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're doing lots of work. So you can follow us
Nathan,
there.
I think you can say bye
All
now.
right. So now that you know that we have those shows kind of, you can follow us wherever those podcasts that you like to listen. You can also follow us again on our Facebook, YouTube. Twitch is a new platform for us. And of course, follow us on our Twitter where we share a lot of our thoughts as we go along. By the way, it was the Beard who joined us.
Word.
So shout out to Authentic and the Beard show, but thanks to the Beard for showing up. And thanks to all of our live listeners. We love interacting with you. Don't forget, during the Day After Reckoning, which comes on day after the game. Could be coming on Monday. You can actually call into the show. That's right. You actually get to be a part of Ref the District. So be on the lookout for that, and you can dial in and actually be here with us and interact, give us a question or give us your thoughts. Just like Michael was on here a little bit. You won't get as much time as Michael, but you'll get some FaceTime. We do appreciate Michael Rothstein again for coming out from ESPN onto the show. And gentlemen, until next time.
Oh, wait. Be a fan.
Be a fan.
We love Washington, and we some die-hard fans. Yeah, we are. You know we keep it on 10. Let's talk about the offense. 1, 2, 3, let's go. And they gifted. We are Nathan and the Stoner. Yeah, that's Ref the District. Podcast. Come on now and join us.